Have you been looking to upgrade the speakers in your 2007 to 2013 Toyota Tundra? Are they just not quite what they used to be? Are they a little worn out? Our 6-speaker plug-and-play bundle is going to be the perfect upgrade for your Toyota Tundra. These Kicker KS series speakers are going to play a more dynamic and full range of sound in your truck, really giving you back the tops and the bottoms of what you're missing with your factory setup. Not only are they high quality, great sound and great clarity, everything here is going to be included for you for a nice easy plug and play install that you can accomplish in your own driveway or garage. So before we go into the truck, and I'll show you exactly how to install all of these great speakers, let's go over everything that you're going to get with the bundle that you order from TrailGrid Pro. For the front doors, you're going to get a new set of 6x9 speakers. These are going to be your woofers that are going to be responsible for your mid bass. You're going to get the appropriate adapter rings. You're going to get the speaker adapters already with the crossovers, pre-wired, soldered shrink tube. Everything's ready to go. For the dash tweeters, you're going to get a set of the 2 3/4 inch tweeters. Again, the appropriate mounting brackets and the connectors with the crossovers. Again, already pre-connected, soldered, and finished for you so that they're exactly plug and play for your vehicle. And then for the back doors, you're going to get a set of the Kicker 6.5 inch coaxial speakers. So you have a 6.5 inch mid-bass driver with a tweeter here in the middle. You're also going to get the appropriate brackets to mount it to the door and the speaker connectors, as well as new hardware to mount the speakers to the adapter rings. Some of the tools that you guys are going to need to get this installation done are a 10mm socket, like always. You can either use a powered or a manual ratchet. I also like to have a 10mm wrench with the pivot on it. Either need a Phillips head screwdriver, either manual or powered, and then a couple of panel tools. So not a whole lot of tools to get this done. I'm telling you guys, this is really a lot easier than you probably think it is. So let's go ahead and jump into the truck and we will start with the installation. To start the installation of our new Kicker bundle, we're going to start with the dash speakers. To remove the grills, all you're going to need is a panel tool and a 10mm socket. So the first step is going to be to remove the grill, and we're just going to use our panel tool. We're going to insert it below and we're just going to pop the grill right up and out of the way. Insert, we're going to work our way around, and we have our grill up out of the way. You can see here there's 4 push pin retainers here. That's what you're trying to release. So we'll go ahead and set this out of the way, and we'll grab our 10mm and remove the 2 bolts holding in the factory speaker. So here are the 2 10mm bolts that we need to remove to get the factory speaker out. So let's go ahead and get those out with the socket. Get that one loosened up and out of the way. And for the one in the back, I like to use a wrench to get it out. It's pretty close to the glass here, so just be careful if you're using a regular socket. Once you get that one loosened up, sometimes it's just easier to take it out with your fingers. Set that one in the cup holder because we're going to reuse it here in a moment. So with those 2 bolts out, we can reach in and remove the factory dash speaker. And we can see right here, there's one connector. We're just going to depress the tab and remove the factory connector. Now we have our factory speaker out. We can go ahead and put this to the side as we no longer need it. We'll grab our Kicker 2 3/4 speaker, and I'm going to show you how to put that together. So a couple of pieces you're going to need here. Obviously you need the tweeter. You're also going to need the crossovers that came in the bag that were labeled dash. These are going to have connectors that are going to connect to the tweeter itself. And then we'll also need the provided bracket. And one thing to note on these brackets, it's actually a 2-part bracket. So you have a smaller, thinner one that's going to sit inside of the larger one. So the first thing that we're going to do is actually going to take the tweeter itself, and we're going to put the wires through, and we're going to gently work it into place, kind of avoiding the little board there where the wires attach. And we want to get it where the tweeter sits right in the larger bracket. Keep in mind we don't want to damage the surround or the tweeter cone while we're doing this. And then the smaller bracket is going to fit on top, and then that's what kind of sandwiches the speaker into the bracket. You can see here that the tabs line up, the mounting holes line up. So that's the assembly on that. The only thing we have left to do is, you'll see that there's a small male and female spade connector here on the speaker, and there are corresponding spade connectors on the crossover. So we're just going to connect those. And to do so, you can find that one. So that's the male. We're going to match it up with the female from the speaker. Make sure that the metal tab goes in the middle there, and that will snap into place. Do the same thing on the other one. And then last thing we're going to do is push the little insulators over so that they are completely covering the speaker connection. So that's all the assembly. So now all we need to do is go back to the dash. Your connector here is going to connect to the factory wiring. We're going to push all this in place, and we'll use the 2 factory 10mm bolts to secure the entire assembly. All right, so we can set our tweeter on the dash here. We're going to find the 2 connectors here. I'm just going to go ahead and line up the connectors. Heard a nice snap there, so those are connected. And we're going to just push all of the wires down into the dash. And then what we want to do is work our tweeter gently into place. And we're going to line up the 2 mounting holes in the bracket with the factory mounting locations. We're going to grab our 2 10mm bolts. And we're just going to go ahead and start these by hand and make sure we have everything nice and lined up. When you're doing this, just be careful when you're kind of sandwiching the top and bottom bracket that you don't accidentally pinch the surround here where the speaker connects to the mounting bracket. Just kind of tighten these down by hand, make sure everything stays lined up. And then once we get them kind of finger tight, then we'll go back and tighten them down with one of our tools. So again, just tighten these down a little bit. They don't need to be super tight. I'm just holding a speaker into the dash. So just kind of finger tight on that one. Do the same thing. All right, finger tight on that one. So we can see that the bracket is nice and secure there. So that's all that it takes to mount the tweeter. We're going to grab our grill and we're just going to line that up, push that back into place. All right, so you guys saw super simple on the dash speaker. Now we're going to move on to the front door. So we're just going to take the door panel off. We're going to install our new 6x9 and I'll show you how to put the door panel all back together. So let's move to the front door. Before we start taking the door panel off, let's do a quick overview of all of the things that we're going to need to remove to release the door panel. So the first is going to be this corner trim here. We're just going to be able to pull that straight off. The second thing is right below it. This truck's actually missing them, but there should be a little push pin retainer that you're going to need to remove. These can easily be removed by pushing the center of the retainer in, and then that will release it, and then you can pull the entire piece out. There is a Phillips head screw located behind this cover panel, behind the door handle. So we're going to remove that. And then the last one is there's another Phillips head screw in the bottom of the grab handle here in the middle of the door. So those are going to be kind of the 4 things that we need to remove. The rest of it is just going to be pressure clips around the edge of the door that we will be able to just then pull the door panel off and release those. So tools that you're going to need, maybe a panel tool, and definitely going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. So I'm going to grab my panel tool. We're going to start with removing the 2 Phillips head screws, and then we'll get the rest of the door panel off. First thing you're going to want to do is just remove any little insert piece that you have in the bottom of the grab handle. So we can lift that out of the way, and then you can see the Phillips head screws right there at the bottom. We'll grab our screwdriver and get the one screw out. Next, we're going to remove the cover trim behind the door handle here. So we'll use our panel tool. I like to pull the door handle lever out. We're just going to insert and give it a little pry, and that's going to pop right out. And you'll see that there's one Phillips head screw behind the panel. Next, we're going to remove this corner sail panel. So to do that, you just reach and just grab and pull straight back towards you, and you're going to release the two pins here, and that piece is just going to come off. So we'll set that to the side. Now we have the screws out, we have the sail panel, we have the push pins out. Now the only thing left to do is release the edges of the door panel itself. So what I like to do is just kind of find a place where you can get your fingers in. You hear it just pops right out. All right, now that we have the door panel released, now all we need to do is just lift up and off the edge of the window. And then we'll need to release the connections for the window switch and for the door handle and the door lock. First, we need to release the door cables. So what you're going to do is going to pull the retainer up and out, and then we're going to swivel this until we get the cable to line up with the slot and remove the ball. And we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Pivot and release. With that freed up, we can move down to the window switch. Last connector to release is for the courtesy light. So there's a tab right on the top that we're going to depress and remove the connector. Now that we have the door panel removed, I want to cover how to remove the window switch connector a little more in depth. These are probably a little bit more on the difficult side to get removed just because of where the tab to depress and remove the connector is located. So kind of imagine this is the way that the connector sits inside the door, and the tab is actually here. It's going to be on the inside, literally right next to the door panel. So you're going to reach in and depress the tab, and then this whole outer collar kind of slides back, and then that's going to actually allow you to release and remove the connector from the window switch assembly. So again, this is normally in the locked position. You're going to have to reach in, depress the tab on the inside, slide the collar back, and then you can remove the connector. Next step in the process is to actually remove the factory 6x9. So you need to remove the speaker connector from the top of the speaker, and then you can use a Phillips head screwdriver or a 10mm socket to remove the 4 bolts securing the speaker to the door. So to release, there's just a tab here on the side. I'm going to push the tab in, pull the connector straight up and out, and I'm going to grab a tool and remove the 4 bolts. Once we have the speaker released, we can give it a little pull, and we're going to lift it up and out. There's one retaining tab here we need to remove. So again, you just kind of lift up, pull back down, and that will remove our factory speaker. Now we're going to grab our provided kicker speaker bracket, and we're going to get this mounted using the 4 bolts that we just removed. And then we will continue with the spacer, the speaker, and the connector. So we'll go ahead and get our bracket lined up. For this, we're going to use the longer slots in the bracket. And we'll go ahead and start each of these by hand, making sure that we have everything lined up before we tighten it down. All right, now that we have our 4 bolts started, we can go ahead and tighten those down. Keep in mind, these don't need to be super tight. You're just putting the metal bolt into the plastic retainer in the door. So just nice and snug. You can see that's not going anywhere. The next piece we're going to need is the provided door speaker adapter with the inline crossover. And you're going to see on here there's a 1/8 and 1/4 inch spade connector on the end. And if we grab our new 6x9, you'll see right here on the back there's also a 1/4 and 1/8 inch spade connector. So we're just going to match these up, and just like we did the tweeters, we're just going to push them into place until you hear the click. Make sure that those are nice and secure there. And then we're also going to need our small spacer for the speaker adapter ring here. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop the speaker wire through, and we're going to line up our spacer, and then holding that in one hand, we can go ahead and make the connection to the factory wiring harness. We're going to route our speaker wires around, and then you see that we've gone ahead and notched out the speaker adapter ring. You're actually just going to put the speaker wires right through there, and then the rest of the wiring is going to go right in, and our speaker and our spacer are going to line up perfectly. We're going to grab some of the provided black Phillips head screws, and then we're going to go ahead and start them in the corners. So we have our pan head screws here that are provided with your kit. We're just going to start and line these up and make sure that we have all 4 lined up before we go and snug them down. All right, so we have all 4 started. Now, if you feel more comfortable using a regular screwdriver to do this, that is up to you. You can also use a powered screwdriver. What we don't want to do though is we don't want to put the screwdriver through the surround or the cone of the speaker. So I'm actually going to put my hand over to protect. And then we're just going to snug these down. Again, don't need to be super tight. Again, I'm going to protect the speaker. All right, have all 4 snugged up. You can see everything's nice, tight fit. Everything is nice and tucked out of the way. So now that we have our 6x9 in, we can go ahead and put the door panel back on the front door. Before we do that, this is a good point to check the perimeter of the door. Make sure that you have all of your retainer clips. Sometimes due to the age of the vehicle, they either like to break or just fall out. So if you still have them, you can absolutely put them back in. You can also find these pretty easily as replacement parts if you feel like you need some more. So we've got all of ours in place. So we're going to start with reattaching the courtesy light and then just kind of work our way up the door. I'm just going to line up the connector and push it into place. Next up is the window switch. So again, the tab here on the side is going to go towards the door panel. So we're going to line that up, we're going to push it into place, and then slide the collar down to lock the window switch into place. Next is to reattach the door cable. So the green one goes on the bottom. So we're going to swivel this over till we get the ball to drop in, pivot it over, and push the retainer into place. Do the same for the white cable. Push the ball in, swivel over, and pop that back into place. Now we're going to hang the door panel on the edge of the window. And we're going to push it down into place. You can see that our hole here on the edge is lined up. We can see that our bolt hole here behind the door handle is lined up. So that means everything else is lined up, and we can just give the door panel a good push. We got all of our retainers in. Now is a good time to go ahead and put the clip back here in the corner. Like I said, this truck was already missing it. So what you'll want to do is you'll push the pin backwards, slide it in, and then push the inner pin to where it's just flush with the retainer. That will secure that. We can go ahead and replace our 2 Phillips head screws and then our sail panel. So when you're replacing the 2 screws, you'll notice that you have a larger one and a smaller silver one. The small silver one goes behind the door handle. The larger of the 2 goes down in the grab handle of the door. We'll start with the silver screw behind the door handle. That just needs to be snug. Go ahead and put the screw back in the grab handle. Again, that just needs to be snug. Replace our cover. Replace the cover behind the door handle. It just pops into place. And then the last thing is the corner sail panel. Just gonna line this up, and that snaps right back into place. With the install of the 6x9 wrapped up on the front door, let's go ahead and finish up this driver's side with the 6.5 in the rear door. On the back door, the panels are going to be pretty similar. The only main difference is instead of the sail panel and being in the corner here, on the back doors, it's actually this trim piece up here. So this will get removed. Again, you will have a screw behind the door handle, and then you have one in the grab handle. And then obviously there's always the clips around the outside. So we'll go ahead and start with removing this upper trim. Again, just releasing the clips there. We can set that to the side. Again, the back door does have one of those push pins, and like I said, for some reason this truck they're all missing, but again, push the center of the pin in. That will allow you to remove the entire connector there. We'll grab our panel tool and we'll get the cover plate for the door handle off, as well as the one in the grab handle. Just like the front door, we're going to pop the cover plate off. Grab our screwdriver and take out the 1 silver Phillips head screw. Next, we're going to remove the felt from the grab handle, and we're going to remove the screw in the bottom of the grab handle. With those 2 screws out, let's go ahead and remove the rest of the door panel. Again, we're just going to find a place and just pop the door panel right off. Again, we'll just lift it up off the edge of the window. And then we will remove the door cables and the window switch. Just like the front door, we're going to lift up, rotate, and remove the ball. We have the window switch. I'm going to depress the tab and release. And the last one is the courtesy light. Just depress the tab there on the side of the connector, and that will release that. All right, with that light freed up, we can remove our door panel and set that off to the side. Same thing like the front door, you have the 1 speaker connector here, except for on the back door you have 3 10mm, or you can use your Phillips head screwdriver bolts to remove. So we're going to disconnect this by depressing the tab. Lift that up out of the way. Grab our screwdriver and remove the 3 bolts holding in the factory speaker. Again, just give it a little pull, and we're going to lift up and out. Get our kicker provided speaker bracket here, and we're just going to line this up. We're going to find which way it lines up there. So here on the top, we found that You have the longer slot, and then you have the one with the 3 holes there. We're going to use the last one. Go ahead and start that by hand. Down here at the bottom is the 1 oval slot. And then again, the 3 holes there. So we'll get that all lined up. Those are all started, and we can snug them down. All right, got those nice and snug down. Next thing we need is our provided speaker adapter and our 6.5-inch speaker. So no crossovers on the rear doors. So we're going to line up and match up the 1/8 and 1/4-inch spade connectors. All right, we're going to work the spade connectors into place. There we go. Those are nice and secure. Again, in these there are notches for the speaker wires. So we can go ahead and make our factory connection here. We're just going to line up the connector. Hear that nice snap into place. Can route our speaker wire down, and then the little bit of excess wire here is just going to get tucked inside. Make sure that it's in that groove. And then what we want to do is rotate our speaker until the holes here are lined up with the 4 mounting holes in the bracket. We're going to use our provided black Phillips panhead screws, and we'll go ahead and get these started. Again, just take your time, make sure everything's nice and lined up. And then we're going to double check, make sure that the wire is in the little notch. And then we can grab our screwdriver, and just like the front door, we're going to go ahead and tighten them all down, but we're going to make sure we protect the speaker and obviously the tweeter here in the speaker. Now that they're all started, just go around and make sure they're all nice and snug. All right, perfect. So there we go. That's all there is to the back door. So now we can get our door panel put back on. So the first thing we're going to do is start with the courtesy light, and then the window switch, and then the door cables, and then we'll get this hung back on the window and get it all put back together. First up is the courtesy light. Next is the window switch. We're going to put the tab towards the inside of the truck, and that snaps back into place. And next is the door cables. First up is the green cable. It goes on the bottom. Insert the ball, pivot to the side, lock the connector into place, and then we'll do the white cable. It goes on the top. Again, insert the ball, pivot, and snap into place. Now we're going to hang the door panel on the edge of the window. Make sure it's pushed down into place. Again, we can see our hole lines up here. So we'll go ahead and push all the clips in. Put the door clips in place. We'll go ahead and replace the trim panel up top. So we'll just line this up. And that will snap right back into place. If you have the push pin retainer here, again, you're just going to push the pin out, insert the retainer, and then push the center pin to where it's even with the connector. Let's go ahead and replace the screw behind the door handle. You can get the cover plate, and that just pops right into place. Replace the larger Phillips head screw down in the grab handle. Replace our felt. There we go. All right, so that wraps up the driver's side rear door. Now we're going to jump over, and we're basically going to do the exact same thing on the passenger side of the truck to get this install finished up. Again, we're going to start up front with the dash speaker, then we'll move to the front door and finish off with the 6.5 in the rear door. So just like on the driver's side, we're going to lift the grill out. So we're just going to go ahead and pop the plate off. Get that out of the way. Switch over and grab our 10 mil. We'll get these loosened up. All right, got those out of the way. We can remove our speaker. And we're going to go ahead and depress the tab and pull the connector. Again, just like on the other side, we have our tweeter and our provided crossover and adapter. We're just going to match up the male and female spade connectors. Give those a nice push. Again, those pop into place. We're going to push the little insulators up and over. So with our tweeter assembly, I'm going to grab the larger of the two brackets, push everything through, and then work our tweeter into the bracket. Smaller plate is going to just match up and go right on top. We'll get this connected and then secure it with the two 10 mil bolts. Just going to push all the wires into the dash. And get our adapter lined up. Just grab the factory bolts and we'll resecure the bracket. All right, again, those just need to be finger tight. So that is securely in place. Grab our grill, get that lined up, and snap that back into place. Let's go ahead and start off with this front door. We'll go ahead and take the sail panel off. Get our panel tool. We're gonna pop off the cover behind the door handle and remove our insert. Grab our Phillips head screwdriver and remove the two screws. All right, check the push pin on this one is also missing, so if you have yours, don't forget to remove that first. Now we're going to just release the panel. And lift it up off the window. Get our door cables. All right, lastly, remove the courtesy light. We'll check our door pins. All right, perfect. Next up, we're going to remove the speaker connector. And we will remove the 4 bolts holding in the speaker. All right, we're going to grab our 6x9 bracket here. So we're going to line this up. Again, we're going to use the larger openings, and we'll get the 4 factory 10 mil bolts started, and then we'll tighten down the bracket. with the bracket in place, we can grab our speaker adapter with our inline crossover. Again, on the back of the speaker, I'm just going to match up the spade connectors and push those into place. We're going to grab our thin spacer. We'll drop our speaker into the spacer. Can make our door speaker connection. All right, there we go. And we're going to run this, and we're going to tuck the rest of the wires inside. Route your connector around, tucking in the wires in the channel. And then we can mount our speaker. I'm going to grab 4 of the black Phillips head panhead screws. We'll get these started. And we'll go ahead and tighten these up, again protecting the speaker. All right, there we go. Double check, wire's not pinched. We are good to go to put our door panel back on. Just do one more double check. Got all of the pins, so let's start with the courtesy light. Next up is the window switch. And then we will do the door cables. Same thing on this side. The green one will go on the bottom. The white one goes on top. Set our door panel. Got it over the edge there. All right. Got our hole lined up there, so we can go ahead and push in the edge. A nice push all the way around. We're going to go ahead and put our sail panel back in. So just line that up. Snaps into place. And we just have the 2 screws. Again, the small silver one goes behind the door handle. The larger one goes in the grab handle. Let's get our cover plate for behind the door handle. Go ahead and line that up. And that will just snap right into place. So let's go ahead and move to the back door. We will finish up this install. All right, everybody, last door, and then we get to jump in the truck and actually listen to our new speakers. So let's go ahead and pop the door panel off. Again, we're going to remove the upper trim. Let's grab our panel tool. Again, if you have the push pin here along the outside, go ahead and remove that. We're going to pop the panel off behind the door handle. Get our felt out. Let's grab our screwdriver and we'll get these 2 screws out. And we'll get the screw in the grab handle. Let's go ahead and pop the door panel off. There we go. Lift it up. Release our door cables. Have our 1 window button and the courtesy light. Let's go ahead and disconnect the wire for our speaker. Grab our screwdriver and we'll get the 3 bolts out. Again, pull, lift it up and out of the way. Grab our kicker bracket, get this lined up. Again, the one tab here that just has the one slot in it is going to go towards the bottom. We'll get that started back with our factory bolt. And then get the other two lined up. Again, we're going to go with the circles here. It would be the outermost circle. Now that we have those started, we can go ahead and tighten them up. Let's grab our 6.5-inch speaker and our provided harness adapter. We're going to match up the spade connectors. Just push those in. We'll get our connection made here to the door. Run our wire through the slot in the bracket, and we'll get our speaker lined up. And again, use the provided black Phillips head screws. Get these started, and then we'll tighten them down. There we go, ready to put the door panel back on. We'll give one final check. We got all of our pins, so let's start with the courtesy light and work our way back. Got our window switch, our door cables. Again, green on the bottom, white on the top. Set our door on the window edge. Got our hole lined up there, got it lined up behind the door handle. All right. Grab our two screws, and the larger one goes in the grab handle. Silver one goes behind the door handle. Place our felt insert. And finally, the cover for behind the handle. Grab our upper door trim, get that lined up, and snap that back into place. All right, so as we saw, relatively easy install. Kind of the most difficult part of this is getting the door panel off, but now is the time that we've been waiting for. We're gonna jump in the front of the truck, turn the radio on, and give our new Kicker KS series speakers a good listen. All right, everybody, now the time that we've absolutely been waiting for. Let's hear what these Kicker KS series speakers really sound like in our Toyota Tundra. So we're gonna grab the key, turn the radio on here, fire up our Sony 6000 plug-and-play bundle that we also have installed in this Tundra, and we'll find some music to play. All right, there we go. CarPlay is connected. So let's turn it up and see what it sounds like. All right, so that is a massive improvement. I know that every time we play sound, it doesn't really translate very well over the YouTube videos, but take it from me, this is a way better sound quality, a way better experience than the factory speakers that were in here just a short time ago. A lot more mid-bass, a lot more highs, a lot more clarity. Paired with a aftermarket radio, this is almost a completely different truck from an audio perspective. So these are a great upgrade. I mean, you guys saw in the video how like tattered and just worn out looking, frankly. The factory speakers were. So these Kicker KS series speakers are good to go. They love to be amplified. They're only can get better from here. We love Kicker, and I think that you're gonna love Kicker too. So if you guys wanna pick up any of either this product or any of the other products that we have for the 2007 to 2013 Toyota Tundra, you can find them all in the shop at trailgridpro.com. And like always, have a blast out there.